Okay, good evening. I'm gonna call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District for today, Monday, December 7th, 2020. Due to an abundance of caution with regard to the spread of COVID-19 and in accordance with Governor Cuomo's March 12th Executive Order number 202.1, tonight's meeting is being held in the District Administration Building and live streamed through Zoom and YouTube. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of meditation. Please remember Joseph Lemma, a retired math teacher, and Rose Law, a retired payroll and benefits coordinator. And all those, today is Pearl Harbor Day. So please remember all of our veterans and people we lost on Pearl Harbor Day. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is the financial update. The Board of Education acknowledges the Treasury Report for September 2020. And next on the agenda is a special presentation tonight. We have Bill Hecht from BOCES and his team doing a presentation with Internet Security Services. And I turn it over to you, Mr. Hecht.
I would like to certainly thank the Goshen Board and the Superintendent of Schools, Dan Connor, for the invitation to present to you tonight. This is the result actually of an Orange County School Board's meeting that was held back in November. And the topic was provided by NICER on internet security. So I believe Martha Bogart reported on that, and there were some questions from some of your board members. So we accepted the invitation to come and speak with you this evening with regard to BOCES and some of the securities that we have in place. Joining me this evening is our Assistant Superintendent for Finance, Deborah Heppes, and our Director of Technology, Forrest Etter. So I'm going to actually turn it over to Forrest at this point to begin the presentation. And if questions arise, we intend to be brief. So we know you have a lot on your agenda. But again, thank you for the invitation this evening. Forrest, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Hecht. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I'm going to see if I can try and share my screen if that's possible. I've just got a couple slides here.
While you're talking, I just want to thank you guys for doing this. I apologize. I am still working at the hospital, but I wish I could be there or at least live on video. But I really do appreciate everything. And Forrest, I know we used to work together back when you were at Walk Hill, when I was at Time Warner at the time. So it's definitely a pleasure.
It's nice to hear your voice again. It's good to see you again. Well, hear you again. All right. Let's see here. All right. Well, I may be just speaking through this then, because I can't seem to share my screen, but that's quite all right because I can speak to this, and we'll go through this quickly. All right. So at Orange Ulster BOCES, we do have a network that we run, a network service that we provide to all of our school districts. Oh, thank you for the co-host piece. Oh,
that's great.
Are you able to see that?
Yes.
All right. So we do have network security in place, and that's what, as Mr. Hecht indicated, that's what I'm here to talk about a little bit tonight. But just to kind of give you a quick little overview, we have a countywide network, consists of 57 unique network connections, serving under 15 connected organizations, including our very own BOCES. And on a and we have a current network subscribed rate of 12.3 gigs of internet throughput. Okay, so what do we have in place to protect that? Well, I'll just show this quickly. This is what our network looks like today. So it's quite a spider web of different connections, different buildings across the county. So we have various security measures in place, starting out with the fact that we purchase internet and our WAN connections through a company called Crown Castle. And just a few months ago, we actually instituted a new service from them, a distributed denial of service. Now, we've actually had that for a number of years, but we've moved to a new provider and the provider that provides our internet. And that's something that's in place that's monitoring network traffic and looking for bad data coming our way, and effectively lots of data coming our way. And it's lots of unanticipated data. And this solution is something that keeps us up and operational when these events take place, and make sure that testing environments and internet just keeps flowing. So we do also subscribe to many notifications from security agencies. Get a lot of threat intelligence from the broader audience across the country. Some of that includes something called MS-ISAC, which is the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center. And some of those, MS-ISAC provides a whole suite of tools, alerts, and other pieces to help us kind of keep an eye on the network, right? To make sure that we keep the bad players out and keep the good data flowing. We at BOCES also undertake various things like third-party risk assessments. We've had an internal auditor in from Foxpoint and Associates to be able to completely review our network structure, network infrastructure, and take us through various aspects of auditing to make sure that we are doing everything the right way, right? That we're taking the right steps to protect our network resources and our school districts. Along with that, most of you are probably aware of the thing called a firewall. We do have a large one at our doorstep at BOCES, which all data into the county network actually goes through. But also probably a little bit lesser known, but each school district has its own district firewall. And those are essential in providing an additional layer of protection, not only from the internet, but obviously if a threat actor or bad player got into one of the school districts, they'd be inside the network. So having this added layer of defense is helpful in protecting each of our school districts individually. We also do have a bandwidth shaping tool, which is how we actually sell bandwidth to each of the participating school districts and how we allocate bandwidth to ourselves at BOCES. But along with this allocation of bandwidth, so all the internet traffic, all the data that comes in and goes out, this tool actually does give us a little bit more insight as to what's flowing in and flowing out. Now, obviously, for the most part these days, it's a lot of Google traffic, Google Classroom, Google Meet, all of that. And then finally, currently we did in the past year hire a new network security analyst. So it is somebody whose actually responsibility is to keep an eye on the network and take actions and make sure we are taking all the right steps to protect the data flowing in and out of our county every day. So along with that comes collaboration, really important piece of this, right? We have tech director meetings on a monthly basis. Actually, it's been more frequent than that. We have them relatively every other week, where we actually share a lot of best practices. What are the other districts seeing, or what are we seeing at BOCES? Where we share those information pieces we've gotten from MS-ISAC and other sources. We do our best to stay current on the threat landscape, right? The ever-changing threat landscape, and trying to keep up with the next phase or the next attack. And along with that, we do provide a variety of network security services. such as network maintenance, endpoint protection, antivirus software solutions that we help not only with the purchase of, but in a lot of cases the implementation of, that keep each of the networks safe. And we do the same thing at BOCES, right? Where we implement these tools on our network to make sure that we are safe as well. Speaking about the future, obviously we're always thinking about the future and where do we need to be one step ahead as best as possible. We have a firewall that's in place that's going to be installed, which is called a next generation firewall. Many of our school districts already have some of these in place. They have additional features like the ability to block connections to various countries across the world where there's potentially no need to have communications going back and forth. There's additional tools that we can implement that we're constantly looking at to see how can we best get information about what's happening on our network. We continuously review tools and look at those things. Another piece that we've done with our auditor is penetration testing, which is basically testing the network. Make sure that only the data that we want and only the servers, the data, everything that we want to get in and out are able to do so. And that's something that's an ongoing piece. Future things that are kind of in the current world necessary. All these security tools generate a lot of data, and the ability for one person alone to just look at all that data is really challenging. So what we're looking at is these other log monitoring systems that allow us to get a glance and they put some analytics towards it to help us identify the threat in the midst of the whole data flow. And we continue to look for partnerships with third parties that can help us grow and improve what we do. And that's really brief overview of what we've got going on right now at BOCES for us for security and for the county network for security. I'd like to open it up for questions if that's okay.
Sure. Thanks, Forrest. Guys have a pretty good handle on a lot of things. So the MSISAC, we're part of it with the health side. It's a great resource. I think I get too many emails from the listserv, but some of them are actually relevant and really important. So I think it's great. So when you guys geo-block, are you blocking basically everybody outside of the US?
So, well, currently we at BOCES only block when we get a list from MSISAC of the really, really bad players, right? The IP addresses that they've identified as having absolutely no value, as just being something that will infect you or hurt your network. Those are things that we take action on and add to our firewall right now. Okay. Our balance really is to make sure that we can protect you, but at the same time not be so restrictive that you have to call us every hour of every day to say, can you open this? Can you open that? We do allow some flexibility, to allow our districts to, because everybody has such a unique needs, right? There's a lot of similarities, but the makeup of each district network is different, right? So we'll probably be looking at some more of that as we move forward, specifically some of the geo-blocking of some other countries that continuously have threats coming from them. But at this time, we don't do it at the BOCES level. I know many of the school districts actually do turn it on and do have it actively on, but it's not something that we've actively engaged yet. Okay.
Well, talking about geo-blocking, so you guys probably have a lot of entry points or attack surfaces. How do you guys mitigate that? I mean, is everything coming through your RICs and that's it? Or unfortunately, you're going to have schools that have an internet connection that, does have a way into your network and through whatever district that can come in and start exploiting. So how do you handle that? Because, we have to worry about our, what do you call it? Our security supply chain, they call it.
Yep. Well, and that comes back to speaking about the collaboration, right? We try to have an open communication with every school district who participates. We work with everybody to make sure that any of those open doorways that are possibly open are closed. We engage with each of the school districts that are on in the network COSER to make sure that that they are moving along and securing their resources as best as possible. You are correct. There are a lot of possibilities of having openings, but we do our best to try and close many of those things down, right? And either if it's working with an individual school district or working at our level to do so in some cases. But what we do find is that a lot of the school districts do have such particular needs that you know, we've segmented the network in such a way to protect a lot of those things that if something's going to really rear its head in one district, it's not going to have an impact on others. But it's best, you know, it's the best possible way to do that right now. And then it does come back to also the human factor that I didn't really mention yet, but making sure that everybody is trained. And that's important. You know, we finished up or we're still kind of finishing up, but at the tail end of our own data privacy and security training at BOCES. And, you know, I think if any of you saw that OXPA presentation, you saw references to the phishing tests and the other knowledge tests that are really important that we kind of live in that world, because it is, we are the strongest and the weakest link when it comes to cybersecurity, right? One click on a bad text message or opening a file, an attachment in an email can start a bad sequence of events going. So understanding what you're receiving, asking the questions, reaching out to say, hey, this doesn't look right, are all important facets of the security program as well.
Yeah, and that's great. Would you guys think about offering some kind of service, like a phishing campaign to districts?
I would say we're probably open to doing some pieces of that. However,
Boris, don't ever say no to, will you offer a service? Never say no to
Never
that.
jump
there you
in.
go.
Yes.
That's my boss
Exactly.
saying yes.
That's kind of why I answered it like that, asked it like that. Yeah.
Well, and that's an interesting question. We actually incorporated a phishing expedition, if you will, through our internal audit. So we used the Bonadio Group, one of the auditing firms. But it certainly is something that we could explore for us. So you could bring that back to the countywide group of directors to see if that, we obviously would need more than one district interested in order to run a service. BOCES has to have 2 districts interested in it. So we can bring that back and let you know.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's important because, like Forrest said, it's the people are the weakest link. And, you know, just from your overview, you guys are doing all the right things. Unfortunately, you can do everything on the perimeter, reduce your attack surface, but there's that one person that's going to click, which kind of brings me to my next question is, what about endpoint security? So do you guys offer an endpoint security service? Are schools reliant on it? Are we kind of, you know, responsible for our own?
So we do offer endpoint security solutions. Currently, Cisco, AMP, and CrowdStrike are 2 of the ones that we've worked most with school districts and ourselves. We use CrowdStrike at BOCES, and we do work to support the school districts with their use of the product as well. It does come down to sort of district choice. So, for example, if you want us to get some of the alerts, you know, we can set that up and work with the school districts for that. If you're wanting us to help you implement and tune settings, we've actually done that in quite a few cases as well to make sure that it's set up the correct way, and kind of continue to evolve as those products sort of change and evolve as well.
Okay, I think it's important that as a district, we look at something like that. Otherwise, I mean, and you're doing log monitoring. I mean, I know what it's like to get 1,000 alerts on false positives and everything. And it's great that you have a security analyst, but he's one guy. That's definitely a challenge, but you know, I understand. Not one person can do everything. So I'm assuming your team as a whole is security focused.
That is very true. It's not just him or there's a number of us on the team, but it is the full team approach to identifying and making sure that everything is as secure as possible.
Actually, that individual, that position is an added position to our security team. As you know, when Monroe Woodbury had their issues, seems like a long time ago now, but it wasn't that long ago. We turned to our board, and obviously Martha, as your board member and our board member, supported us to add that position actually mid-year. So it wasn't in the budget. We made adjustments to the budget so that we could add that position because we do see the need of additional folks. And I agree with you. It's not what we have is not enough. We could certainly do to add some more.
Yeah, and you know, that's not to anyone's fault. It's just the nature of the business. I mean, it's very difficult to find the resources and you know, the employees to do that stuff.
Yeah,
But
so
I
it
have
can be
no
very
more
challenging.
questions. And you know, you guys are doing a good job. I mean, from what I can tell, from what you presented, you're doing all the right things, and I really appreciate you guys coming out to share this with us.
Our pleasure.
We thank you for the
thank you
opportunity.
for having us. The communication and the back and forth is really what we're going to do best for each other with solutions to keep us protected at this point.
Very much for coming, guys.
Well, we
You're
thank
welcome, Martha.
and we thank Mr. Heck and Ms. Heppis and Forrest for coming tonight and presenting. We really do appreciate it. So thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Enjoy the rest of your
Thanks.
meeting.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too.
Next on the agenda is the President's Report. A few things today. I know the Science Olympiad had a competition over the weekend, virtual. I know they were hard at work, and I think they really enjoyed themselves given the circumstances. And I know they really did a nice job adapting to the new format. So we congratulate them on all their efforts. The Board of Ed got some emails. Superintendent Connell will address the tennis courts during his report. And we got an email with some ideas about air purifiers, which we're looking into as well. Superintendent search update is on schedule, and there should be more detailed information towards the end of the month. And that is my report tonight. Next on the agenda is the legislative update. Martha.
Okay, I attended the Orange County School Board's meeting on December 2nd. There were 3 different parts to the meeting. The first part was the Mid-Hudson School Study Council presentation by Roberta Green. Roberta was the superintendent over in Washingtonville, and now she is the Mid-Hudson School Study Council executive director. And she discussed her coordination with the different colleges in the area that are focusing on teacher preparation. And a survey was sent out to districts about things that, say, a first-year teacher, what could the colleges do to, make it even better, improve? What areas do first-year teachers seem to perhaps need the most help in? And she also mentioned that, talked a bit about the administrative program that is offered at New Paltz. And she pointed out that Goshen has a cohort of the administrative program that meets here. I believe they meet in the Main Street School. And this is something that's new now that in different parts of the county, they're offering administrative classes, and it makes it easier than people having to go way up to the college to take the courses. And the second part of the meeting focused on legislative. Brian Fessler, who is Director of Governmental Relations for New York State School Boards Association, presented some information to us. And one of the things that he would like to see included in our platform for Lobbying Day. Lobby Day is in March, and members of the county school board speak with their legislators. And basically, of course, the main thing will be our deep concern because our aid was withheld in September, and there's a possibility for a mid-year aid cut. And especially, we should be advocating for transportation aid and reduction, I guess, possible reductions in, I think, building aid and transportation aid. Louise probably can comment in more detail in a minute or two about that. And again, Albany waits to find out whether they're going to get money from the federal government or not. In preparing the 2021 budgets, it will be very crucial to us to know what's happening this year aid-wise, because of course that would impact next year. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Then they also discussed the cluster zones in relation to COVID, and the cluster zones, districts operating in them, testing is going to be a big important part of that, and of course that will cost money. Just a note that the Assembly and the Senate right now both hold super majorities, so that will give them some really strong bargaining power with the governor. And let's see, the last part, unfortunately we didn't get to totally, and that would be the discussion of the legislative platform. So that was tabled until the next meeting. So that's it.
Thank you, Martha. Any questions for Martha?
Any questions from anyone? Okay,
Nope.
Great.
Thank you, Martha.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Mr. Connor.
Thank you, President Bucci. I have a few items. I don't know, can you hear me? Can I come across okay?
Yes.
A couple of items for the board tonight. First of all, the senior play, I did meet for more. Dr. Gilman was our Orange County Commissioner of Health. We have regular conversations with her. Our superintendent's group does. What's happening next week? What's happening after this week? Still very much up in the air. A lot of conversations going on. A lot of things to take into consideration. As I receive more information from Dr. Gilman, and I share that with our board president and the board, why hopefully we can make a decision. And I promise as soon as that decision's made, I will get that out to all of you. I understand that you're dealing with a lot and trying to figure out childcare and making plans for next week, but at the same time, we want to make the right decision here on our end as well. Middle school tennis courts, they are open. They will remain open. I spoke with Mr. Ryan, and he has promised that he will keep those courts open and we'll be able to use them. A little chilly today, but as the week goes on, the weather looks like it's warming up. We'll be back up in the 50s by the end of the week and the weekend. So as long as the weather cooperates and we can keep those open, when we will leave them open. Unfortunately, when it starts snowing and we get a lot of ice and stuff up there for certainly for insurance purposes, we'll have to take the nets down. But trust me, we will keep those nets up as long as we possibly can. So hopefully that'll work out for all of us. Any questions from the board?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that they have been, tennis courts have been used.
Yeah.
Since you put the nets up, I noticed that. It was good to see the kids out there playing. I wasn't sure if it was all kids or not. There were several cars over there at one time, but they certainly are being used. That's good, as long as we can do it.
Yeah, I certainly see the need for it, especially in this pandemic. People really need to be able to get outside and as a family or as a group of youngsters where they can get together and play and socially distance and enjoy themselves. It's good. We'll work with everyone as long as the weather permits us to. So.
We have a question from Martha.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I was quite impressed that that a student wrote to us about the tennis issue. I'm very glad that they're going to be kept open. It's a type of game that if the sun's really bright in January, it's fun. So thank you for doing that. And I think it's very good for our kids.
Well, I just want to comment and say that the avenue or the venue that the board has set up to receive questions from students and or parents, community members regarding anything about what we're doing, I think is very helpful. And it allows us as a district to address those issues or concerns and keeps a lot of communications open. So I thank those who on Wednesdays do send their questions and concerns in, and it allows us to get going on, so we're not waiting until the night of a board meeting. I'm glad those courts are open and back in use. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. If you're not on, if everybody else can go mute, please. There we get some feedback.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Assistant Superintendent for Business Report, Louise Lynch.
Hi, good evening. I just have a couple of things, and I'll start with what Martha was talking about. There is this ongoing threat, I'll call it the transportation aid. You know, we initially heard in the 1920 school year that there were going to be those 3 measurement periods. And I understand that we're in an unprecedented time, but we've never had that quantified as to what that could mean for Goshen. So I look at the 1920 school year and that portion. I look at the 2021 year that we're told that we could have a 20% reduction. And as you can imagine, I'm very concerned about what that will look like for the 21-22 year, because now it's cumulative. But so it continues to be on our radar. The transportation aid, I don't know. I know that personally, I sent out the advocation letter advocating that schools be made whole for transportation aid. That's a significant portion of our aid. And then there's also the excess Quest aid, which is for our special needs students. But so it's an ongoing mystery what will happen, if anything, there. And I would encourage you all to advocate if you haven't already. The second item on my report tonight is relevant to the amendment that is proposed by NILAF, which is one of our primary investment tools. And as you know, I brought this vehicle in a couple of years ago, and our interest income has really skyrocketed. So I would encourage you to sign it. I believe it just gives them a little bit of flexibility. But if we do not approve that resolution, we can't use NILAF. We also have class, so that's still an option. I don't know if there are any questions about that. The last item on my report is about budget transfers. We've had some movement within our special ed placements based on student needs and within our benefit codes. And we're really just shifting budgeted funds around to where the expenses are being had. I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Louise.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda is the report, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, and Personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Pucci. Good evening, everyone. So if you recall, at our last meeting, I had talked a little bit about the Social Emotional Learning Committee and upcoming meetings. So we did, in fact, meet as an internal committee on December 2nd, and we spent a good amount of time looking at the Choose Love curriculum. Choose Love curriculum is a K-12 curriculum, very well vertically aligned, and I believe as an internal committee, this will be the K-12 curriculum that we will move to endorse and bring to the board for approval in the very near future. This is very cost effective, being that there is basically no cost. It is a very comprehensive curriculum. Also, a very important piece for us is that it is digitally accessible, so that right now, once we get into the logins, everyone has access to it. We do have a pilot account. I'd like to thank Dr. O'Brien for all of his hard work in helping out with this, and also all of our committee members, of course, building level administrators, directors, all of our social workers, school psychologists, and school counselors. A very big undertaking, however, very important, and I feel quite comfortable with the Choose Love, as do many of the members on the committee. So keep your eyes open for that coming soon. Also want to thank Nancy Misek for helping to put together and implement a Google form that really just checks on our teachers and their needs in the classroom as we prepare to implement the curriculum. So this is something that we'll get out to all 4 buildings just to check the needs of our teachers, their comfort levels, some materials and supplies that they may think they need. And all of this will help us to be very successful in our implementation of that curriculum. Also on December 3rd, along with building level principals and our directors at PPS, assistant director, we had an opportunity to meet with 2 individuals representing Wesley Family Services to discuss the healthy relationship curriculum. And I had mentioned this in the previous meeting as well. And at this point, we've had a very good opportunity to sit with them, talk in depth about the curriculum and what it offers, specifically for our life skills course classes, rather, at C.J. Hooker Middle School and Goshen High School. So the modules that are presented in this curriculum, understanding my body, building healthy relationships, and so on. 39 lessons presented, again, unlimited parent and student access digitally, along with some kits. So we are in the process of, continuing to properly vet the materials, but I do believe that we will be moving toward recommending this to the board as well. So this should be coming your way very soon. One last thing that I'd like to mention, on the Goshen Central School District website, right now we have up one of the forms that we asked to be built so that anyone can fill this out, grades 9-12, if they feel like they need assistance. Of course, somewhat of a mental health check-in. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that, still utilizing that if necessary. And this is something that Dr. O'Brien and all of our social workers and school counselors had offered to span out into the other buildings and still take on those responses if necessary. So again, this is an ongoing process. I think we're making very good movement in the realm of social emotional learning, and all of this will be coming to you as we move into the new year. And that's it for me.
Is that up on our website right now, on all the pages and all the building pages?
The form is on the centrally located social emotional learning page on gcsny.org.
Can we send that out message-wise to reiterate to our district? I know there's as each day goes by, there's more and more social and emotional issues developing. Even children that didn't have issues initially, I think, are struggling. And it's something I know we don't take lightly, and I don't want us to take lightly.
We can definitely do that.
But I would even reiterate to people that there is help if they need it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. I need a motion. Judy and Jeremy. I'm going to be going to Judy a lot here today, I think. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There is no old business, so we shall move to new business. 12.1, I need a motion to approve minutes for November 16th, 2020 regular meeting and the December 3rd, 2020 special meeting. I got Martha
Mullane.
and Allison. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the minutes for the November 16th, 2020 regular board meeting and the December 3rd, 2020 special board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Not opposed.
12.2, we have the first reading and readoption of policy 5670, records management. I need a motion. I have Judy. And I have Jeremy. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the first reading and readoption of policy 5670, records management. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? .3. This is Louise gave us an update on budgetary transfers. I need a motion to approve budgetary transfers.
Mullane.
That was Tom, and I have Allison. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the following budgetary transfers. Dental and vision insurance costs dated 9/1/2020 in the amount of $182,333.12. And new placement of a special education student on 12/3/2020, $39,812. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll take a little drink before this one. 12.4. This is also what Louise discussed during her report. The approved amendment to New York Liquid Asset Funds Municipal Cooperation Agreement. I need a motion. I have Martha and I have Judy. Whereas the undersigned, being a majority of the board of the Goshen Central School District, hereby adopt and by executed counterpart approve as of the 7th day of December 2020 the following actions and resolutions. Whereas the Goshen Central School District is a participant in the New York Liquid Asset Fund, NYLAF, as defined in a municipal cooperation agreement as amended and restated as of August 1st, 2019. And whereas the governing board of NYLAF wishes to amend the definition of investment consultant and marketing agreement to be PMA Asset Management LLC and PMA Securities LLC, respectively. Whereas the governing board has adopted a resolution on November 19, 2020 to effect such change and seeks approval of each participant. Whereas pursuant to section 13.1 of the agreement, each participant has 60 days from the date of the adoption of the governing board's resolution authorizing the proposed change by the governing board to approve the proposed amendment. And whereas, A participant shall be deemed to have given notice of approval of the proposed amendment if it has therefore delivered to the governing board an executed counterpart of the proposed amendment and a certificate in a form acceptable to the governing board to the effect that such participant has held any necessary public hearings, conducted any necessary referenda, and obtained any necessary consents of governmental agencies. The proposed amendment has been approved by a majority vote of the voting strength of such participant's governing body. And such participant has satisfied any other requirements applicable to making contracts, or a participant shall be deemed to have given notice pursuant to the provisions of section 7.2 hereof of its intent to withdraw from the agreement. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board approves the following. A, the definition set forth in Article 1 of the agreement shall be amended as follows. Investment consultant means PMA Asset Management LLC or such other person who shall be acceptable to the governing board. Marketing agent means PMA Securities LLC or any other person or persons appointed or employed or contracted by the governing board pursuant to sections 4.2 and 10.2 hereof. Services and marketing agreement means any agreement entered in with respect to any of the portfolios by the governing board with a marketing agent pursuant to this agreement in connection with the execution of securities transactions and the delivery of securities. B, any other references in the agreement to RBC Global Asset Management, Inc., or RBC Capital Markets, LLC, in the agreement now be amended to read PMA Asset Management, LLC, or PMA Securities, LLC. Resolved that no other public hearing, necessary referenda, or governmental consents are necessary for the board to approve the amendment set forth above, and there are no additional requirements of the board in connection with such approval, and the board has satisfied all other requirements applicable to its making contracts in connection with its role as participant. Resolved that adoption of this resolution by the board and its certification by the clerk shall serve as evidence of the approval of the amendment by a majority of the board. The executed counterpart of the proposed amendment and a certificate required by section 13.1C of the agreement, and shall constitute participant approval of the amendment requested by the governing board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank goodness.
I'll read it over.
Next on the agenda is 12.5. I need a motion to approve correction of assessment due to small claims assessment review. Judy? And Jeremy? Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education accepts the assessment corrections as specified by the Orange County Supreme and County Courts as summarized, and to direct the tax collector to take the necessary actions in accordance with small claims assessment review for Shanglin Cree, section block 10-1-67.24, in the amount of $509.68. Mark Donardo, section block 17-3-32, in the amount of $286.70. Eric Fuentes, section block 17-2-40, in the amount of $947.69. Linda Goldstein, section block 4-1-81, in the amount of $384.25. James Hahn, Section Block 112-16-15, in the amount of $2,118.38. Dominic Igneri, Section Block 110-4-16.11, in the amount of $1,680.38. Francois Martel, Section Block 104-2-17, in the amount of $955.66. Sandra Muriel, Section Block 4-1-60.1, in the amount of $1,893.40. Ivan Perlman, Section Block 17-4-3, in the amount of $872.04. Jeffrey Rendazzo, Section Block 127-2-22, in the amount of $609.23. Louis Rittendale, Section Block 17-3-8, in the amount of $617.20. Umakanta Sansi, Section Block 4-1-42, in the amount of $1,767.97. Richard Smith, Section Block 4-1-82, in the amount of $1,093.04. Margaret Stale, Section Block 127-2-39, in the amount of $589.32. Martin Stoughton, Section Block 18-1-132, in the amount of $716.74. Robert Taylor, Section Block 124-1-29, in the amount of $796.37. And Tazar Shab, Section Block 8-2-53.4, in the amount of $880.22, coming from Code A1001 for the tax year 2020-2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
12.6. I need a motion to approve tax tertiary refund for Tailwinds Properties LLC.
Mullane.
Tom? And
Mike.
Allison. Oh, and Mike, actually. Tom and Mike. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the payment of tax tertiary judgment awarded to Tailwinds Properties LLC in the town of Goshen, Section Block 111-11-7, as per the court order entered into the office of the clerk of the Orange County Supreme Court on November 4th, 2020, and served upon the district on November 4th, 2020, in the amount of $3,458.51 for the 2015-16 school year, $3,576.34 for the 2016-17 school year, $3,691.65 for the 2017-18 school year, $4,246.28 for the 2018-19 school year, and $4,325.31 for the 2019-20 school year, for a total due of $19,298.08. Be it further resolved that in order to fund said tax tertiary judgment refund, that budgetary appropriations for the 2020-21 school year be increased by $19,298.08, code 8601, and that the $19,298.08 be transferred to the general fund budget from the tax tertiary reserve as the offsetting source of revenue. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Twelve point seven, I need a motion to approve terms and conditions for central office. Martha
Mike.
and Mike. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the terms and conditions for central office of the Goshen Central School District, effective July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you from Maureen. Thank you for all your work you do and your group. We appreciate it. And we have a donation, action 8, accept a donation, CNC router from Innovative Closet Designs. I need a motion. Judy? And Jeremy? Be it resolved, the Board of Education does hereby accept, with appreciation, the donation of a Cosmec 48 CNC router from Innovative Closet Designs of Wyckoff, New Jersey, for use by the Technology Education Department and students of the Goshen Central School District. I believe it's Mr. Fedor relationship. We thank Mr. Fedor also.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Next on the agenda is any board member issues.
Jason, I have one, please.
Okay, Tom?
Hey, I guess this is directed toward Mr. Carter. For the next meeting, could we please have an update on that newcomer program through BOCES that we're participating in? I think you know what I'm talking about, yes?
Right.
Sure, I can provide an update as far as enrollment at Goshen High School.
Yeah, I just would like to know, maybe next meeting, you just let us know how that program has been working out, how it's being successful or not, just an update, that's all, please.
No problem.
Thank you.
No other questions? Need a motion to close the meeting? Judy?